So I got my undergrad at Harvard in engineering sciences with a concentration in biomedical engineering. And at that time, my number one mentor was Tom McMahon. Just taking his class, reading his book, really set me on the course that I am on now. He was able to introduce me to other scientists, facilitate lab experiences, and I just really think about his example even now and think about ways to continue paying it forward. I did my MD and PhD at University of Illinois at Chicago. My dissertation advisor was Deborah Hurwitz, and then I continued at Rush University with Dr. Marcus Wimmer and a team of mentors in the orthopedic surgery department. Right now, I run my own lab at University of Illinois at UIC, and where, like I said before, I'm in the kinesiology and nutrition department. I study biomechanics and walking energetics and how they relate to physical activity limitations in osteoarthritis and joint replacement populations. As an MD PhD, even though I don't technically use my clinical degree, I definitely feel like it influences everything I do, the way that I approach problems, the way that I think about my biomechanics research as being very patient-centered. I'm very much interested in the patient experience and patient outcomes. And just thinking about things from that patient perspective informs everything I do. And the reason I know it's because of having that MD training is because between my dissertation work and my postdoc, something just changed in my brain, having had those 2 years of hands-on clinical experiences. So I can definitely attribute kind of my attitude toward my research to having had that clinical background. We're finishing up a couple of studies looking at biomechanics and walking energetics in hip osteoarthritis and knee osteoarthritis, and again, how they relate to physical activity. We're also doing some projects surrounding falls and fall mechanics, as well as, again, the patient experience regarding falls. So we're doing a qualitative study to help us understand that. And then I have a bunch of really exciting collaborations that are on the horizon. So there's the common challenges that everyone has. So getting funding, just being in the lab, patient recruitment is always a challenge. I think now one of my challenges at this point in my career when I am branching out and getting involved in other things is just keeping all the plates spinning. I feel like I always say that I feel like I'm spinning plates and just making sure that everything is spinning at the same time and that nothing falls off is kind of the challenge. Like to start translating our kind of descriptive biomechanical work into more experimental work and ultimately into interventions. We've had a pilot intervention going on in the lab to promote optimal gait mechanics, or I shouldn't say optimal. What is optimal? That's a whole other scientific question, but to improve gait mechanics in a way that we hope will improve physical activity. We have a number of exercise interventions that are on the horizon. So I think in the next 5 years, I'd like to move some of our work that we're doing now through to the intervention stage. During the pandemic, hobby has been off very often on crocheting and knitting. I've had a few projects going. When there's not a pandemic, I roller skate. I play roller derby. I am a blocker for the Chicago Outfit Roller Derby League, and I'm also the treasurer. So even during the pandemic, there's been things to keep me occupied with the financial affairs of the team. But roller derby is probably my main hobby. Yeah. The wide array of science that is presented. I love going to the annual meeting. I love learning all the new things. It makes me a better teacher. I teach in tissue mechanics predominantly, which is not my research area. So I love learning the latest things. I get excited about sharing the latest knowledge with my students. So just feeling like a part of a community, I think, has been just really nice, especially during the pandemic, to feel that sense of community throughout the year, and instead of just gearing up for the annual meeting. I think being open to new opportunities and new ideas has been really important for my development as a scientist. Um, a lot of times you go into a situation thinking that you already know what you want to do, or thinking that you kind of have a research area figured out. But I guess just stay curious, and stay open-minded. People should join my lab because we're fun and we are I think the patient-centered approach is something that I emphasize, that's perhaps unique to other engineering labs. So I think that's been attractive for some students. I try to give a lot of autonomy to students in the lab, and I really try to respect their ideas as well. So there's a lot of give and take in my lab. And I think that that's one thing that is beneficial for students and kind of unique about the experience of training with me.